Picture this. A man spends years in a relationship trying to meet his partner's every need, being present emotionally and constantly giving his attention to her. Yet, despite his efforts, something feels off. He notices that no matter how much he invests, she seems less attentive, less interested, and less respectful. The more he focuses on her, the further away she seems to drift. This scenario is all too familiar in modern relationships. It's a reality that many men face but don't understand. Women often lose respect when a man gives too much of himself away emotionally, without maintaining boundaries or a sense of independence. It's a paradox. Men believe that by constantly showing their care and attention, they will earn a woman's respect. But in reality, the opposite often happens. This is where the concept of detachment comes into play. Detachment doesn't mean emotional neglect or walking away from your partner. It's about retaining your sense of self, your boundaries, and your individuality, even within the context of a relationship. It's about not losing sight of who you are in the pursuit of her approval or affection. When you can maintain this healthy detachment, something powerful happens. You stop chasing validation, and in turn, you attract respect. In this lecture, we will explore why detachment is essential for earning a woman's respect, how it works in real-life scenarios, and how you can apply this principle in your relationships without sacrificing emotional connection. Detachment isn't about playing games or being cold. It's about establishing your value and showing that you have your own life, your own goals, and a strong sense of self-worth. By doing so, you create an environment where respect thrives. 1. The psychology behind detachment and respect. In relationships, we often think that giving more of ourselves, our time, attention, and emotions will make our partner respect us more. But in reality, this can backfire. When a man becomes overly focused on his partner and overly available to her, it can create a sense of dependency. This is where detachment plays a crucial role. At its core, respect in relationships is tied to a person's strength and independence. When a man is too emotionally invested and constantly seeks validation from his partner, it can make him appear needy, and no one respects someone they feel is dependent on them. The psychology behind this is simple. People are naturally drawn to others who have their own lives, passions, and independence. When a man shows that he has his own identity and doesn't revolve around the relationship, he becomes more attractive and respected. Detachment doesn't mean neglecting or emotionally abandoning your partner. It means maintaining your own sense of self. When a man is emotionally detached, it doesn't mean he doesn't care, but rather that he isn't reliant on his partner for happiness or emotional fulfillment. This sends a message that he is his own person, which automatically increases his respectability. Psychologically, people respect those who appear strong and self-sufficient, and a man who can stand firm on his own without constantly seeking reassurance is seen as someone who can handle challenges and maintain his integrity. Detachment also means having healthy boundaries, knowing when to give and when to focus on yourself. This balance is key to gaining respect. In relationships, a woman often loses respect for a man when she perceives him as being emotionally needy or constantly at her beck and call. This is a pattern many men fall into without realizing it. The more they give, the more their partner can take, and the less she appreciates or respects them. However, when a man practices emotional detachment, he keeps a part of himself reserved. He maintains his own goals, hobbies, and identity, which in turn makes his partner respect him more. It's important to note that detachment doesn't mean being cold or distant. Instead, it's about not giving up your entire emotional world for the sake of the relationship. It's about having confidence in your value and not seeking constant approval from your partner. When you detach in a healthy way, your partner sees you as someone who is strong, self-sufficient, and worthy of respect. In summary, detachment is key to building and maintaining respect in a relationship. It shows that a man is emotionally independent, secure in who he is, and does not need his partner to validate his worth. This type of emotional strength naturally leads to a higher level of respect, creating a healthier and more balanced dynamic in the relationship. 2. The trap of overcommitment. Let's break this down with something that happens in relationships all the time: the overcommitted guy. Think of a man who is constantly checking in with his partner, prioritizing her needs, and essentially making her the center of his world. He answers her calls immediately, shifts his plans to fit hers, and sacrifices his own time and desires just to keep her happy. It might seem like the right thing to do, but here's the catch: it often backfires. When you overcommit yourself emotionally and constantly place your partner above everything else in your life, something subtle but dangerous happens. You lose your value in her eyes. Why? Because by being overly available, you're essentially sending a message that you don't have much going on in your own life. Your world revolves around her. This gives the impression that you're too easy to access, or that you don't have your own ambitions and goals. Respect, especially from women, is built on the idea that you're valuable because you have your own life to live. We've all heard the phrase, give a woman space and she'll come to appreciate you more. And that's not just a cliche. When you give her room to miss you, it triggers a natural longing and desire. The key to attraction and respect is not being there all the time, but being able to step back when necessary. That's where detachment comes in. If you're always there, always available, it might seem like you're doing everything right, but this leads to a lack of challenge, which is essential for a relationship to thrive. When there's no challenge, the relationship can feel stagnant, and your partner may begin to take you for granted. Over time, this lack of challenge can lead to a decline in respect. If she doesn't see you as someone with boundaries or a life of your own, she won't value your time and attention. A real-world example: think about when you first met your partner. In the beginning, you probably weren't as emotionally available. You were living your life, pursuing your goals, and maybe even making time for friends and hobbies. During this phase, you were more mysterious, harder to read, and yes, less available. And guess what? She was likely more intrigued, more interested, and more invested in getting to know you. That's the magic of detachment. When you stop chasing and stop being available all the time, you naturally increase your worth. You create an environment where she has to come to you instead of the other way around. This creates a healthy dynamic in which both partners value each other's time and emotional energy. It forces her to respect your boundaries and the fact that you have your own life. The overcommitted guy often falls into a routine of giving, believing that if he just does more, he will earn respect. But in reality, it's the opposite. By constantly giving, he loses his value. Respect comes when a woman sees that you're emotionally independent, strong, and can stand on your own, not when you're always scrambling to please her. So, how does a man avoid falling into this trap? The answer is simple. Start setting boundaries. Make time for yourself, pursue your own interests, and don't be afraid to say no or take a step back. This will show your partner that you have your own life and your own value, and it will naturally increase the respect she has for you. Remember, being too available may feel like love, but it often comes across as desperation. Detachment isn't about being cold or distant. It's about keeping your own life, maintaining boundaries, and making sure your partner sees you as someone with value outside of the relationship. That's the real secret to earning respect. 3. Women don't respect desperation. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Women don't respect desperation. That may sting a little, but it's crucial to understand. It's not about being unkind or judgmental. It's about human nature and attraction. When a man becomes too eager, too emotionally reliant, or constantly seeking reassurance from his partner, it's perceived as desperation. And desperation is the fastest way to kill respect in any relationship. Think about it this way. Respect is built on the foundation of self-worth and emotional strength. When a man is desperate, it shows a lack of self-respect. He starts to act from a place of fear of losing the relationship, fear of being alone, or fear of not being good enough. This fear manifests in behaviors like over-apologizing, seeking constant validation, or always giving in to his partner's demands, even at the expense of his own well-being. What's the result of all this? A woman loses her attraction for a man who is constantly available, emotionally unstable, or living for her approval. Why? Because it makes her feel like she's the one in control. And women do not respect men who they feel are emotionally weak or can't stand on their own 2 feet. The truth is uncomfortable, but it's important. You must learn to respect yourself first. Desperation undermines your value in a relationship. When you are constantly chasing your partner or molding yourself to fit her needs without considering your own, you signal that you don't have a life outside of the relationship. You put all of your emotional energy into her, and in doing so, you forget to nurture yourself. This leaves you in a vulnerable position, where your partner holds all the power and no one respects someone who is out of balance. Let's take a hard look at this. Think about the moments when you've been most emotionally needy. Maybe you've found yourself constantly checking up on her, texting her non-stop, or waiting by the phone hoping for a response. Now, reflect on how that made you feel. Did it feel like you were in control? Did it feel empowering? No, It probably made you feel insecure, anxious, and uncertain. And she likely picked up on that energy. Women are incredibly intuitive, and they can sense when a man is emotionally needy. This isn't to say that you shouldn't show affection or be emotionally available, but there's a fine line. Too much neediness comes across as a lack of confidence and a lack of emotional strength. It's the opposite of the detachment we're talking about. Here's where it gets tough. The more you need her, the less she will respect you. The less you need her, the more you'll create a sense of intrigue, and respect will naturally follow. This is a hard pill to swallow, but it's one that every man needs to understand in order to have a healthy, balanced relationship. When you detach emotionally, not only do you start to respect yourself more, but you also start to create a stronger bond with your partner. Respect isn't something you can demand. It's something you earn by standing firm in your own worth. So, if you're tired of feeling disrespected, undervalued, or taken for granted, start practicing detachment. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Develop your interests, your career, and your personal growth. When you take care of yourself first, you'll naturally command the respect that you deserve. It might be uncomfortable to realize that being emotionally dependent can hurt your relationship, but this uncomfortable truth is necessary for your growth. Respect is earned through your strength, your independence, and your ability to stand firm in who you are. Only then will you create the kind of dynamic where both partners value each other equally.